This is A Silent War Within, the podcast dedicated to confronting the unseen mental health battles carried by our first responder and healthcare heroes. This show is about real stories, real struggles, and real ways to survive the storm and come out stronger on the other side. For too long, stigma has kept you silent. But this is your space to bravely break that silence, share vital insights, and build a community where your well-being truly comes first, because your service deserves unwavering support.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of A Silent War Within. Obviously, it's Friday. If you're listening to this, we drop a new episode every single Friday. Glad you guys are along with us. Welcome to the table. We really like to structure these as kind of a firehouse table type of conversation, or a kitchen table, if you will, where we're all just sitting around having conversation. And today, obviously, we've got Jason with us. Jason, how are you today?
I'm blessed. How are you, Kev?
The same way, probably
Good.
overly
Good.
blessed. For those of you who have called and checked on me and prayed for me and reached out, I appreciate that. Obviously, you guys know I took a hiatus due to some medical stuff, got the infection in my back and going through antibiotic treatments. And you guys have been great about reaching out and just checking on me, especially our guests. I've been so surprised that many of our guests have, since last August when we started, many of them have reached out and checked on me. So I really appreciate that. I'm doing well. But today we've got a very special pair of guests. Usually you guys are used to just one guest, but now we've got the chemistry that these two have from being friends and working together. You guys may know them as Rogue Med Crew on TikTok. We reached out to them many, many months ago, and we just could not get our schedules together. And then we had to cancel on our end, and then they had to reschedule, and there was lots of things that went on. So finally, we have the Rogue Med Crew. Mandy and Grace, how are you doing today? So glad to have you.
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here.
Good, glad to be
here. Good. So you guys have flown together for some time. You guys work at the same company, but definitely you guys work in a very high acuity area. And you guys use your platform for a lot of what I would call comic relief. I really enjoy watching your content and really enjoy what you guys do, both independently on your own TikTok pages, and you guys will have an opportunity at the end of the show to plug yourselves and give all the shameless plugs that you would like. But I really enjoy watching you both on the social media platforms. I think that you guys bring a great level of comedy. And I think Jason is going to lead off our show and getting into kind of the meat of the program. So, Jason, it's all yours.
Yeah, well, I'll just say, I'll echo Kevin. Thanks for taking time out to sit down with us today. And I guess maybe to kick things off, tell us a little bit about your story, how you two connected, and what brought you together. What was that catalyst that brought you together? And what's the vibe of the Rogue Medic community?
Our friendship started kind of just out of the middle of nowhere. We kind of had worked together. I was PR at the time, and then we started working. We worked a shift together, and that was kind of the end of it. That was kind of history as we knew it. From then on, we were inseparable. Talked every day, 24/7. Worked all of our shifts together, started up Rogue. Mandy could speak on this as well, but I think it was an outlet for not only us, but for the people we serve. Like people see air medical and they immediately assume that you're almost put on a pedestal. You're up there, you're untouchable, and I feel like we were trying to just be like, we're human too. We laugh, we joke, we have fun. Yes, we do scary things sometimes, and we have to fly in these big helicopters and big planes to come and help people. But, we're still human.
I remember a lot of, like, when we first started and we started getting big, a lot of people would come up to us just in the middle of flights, in the middle of even recognizing me, just not in my flight suit, and just like, you're Rogue Med Crew, and like, I love what you're doing. And it was just a way to like connect with the community. We fly to Little Rock in Dallas, and knowing that people from really, really far know us, and just, they're like, you're hilarious. We know y'all. We love what y'all do, and just recognize it. I don't know, just instead of seeing us and not coming up to talk to us, because I've seen it, like people, it's like they're scared of us. I don't know a better way to say it. It's like they're scared of us, intimidated. Yeah. And now it was just like, I think you were with me that day. Some dude was like, here, let me show you something. And he like walked up to us and showed us our own video. And we were just like, yeah, that's us. And we were just like, that's awesome.
I had a guy chasing the ambulance down, and he was like banging on the back door. And we opened the back door, and he was like, "Aren't you from Rogue?" And he like opened the door, and I was like, "Oh God."
Yeah, we didn't realize people were gonna like recognize us. Like we were making it and we were having fun, and then people started recognizing us, and we were like, we didn't realize this part was gonna happen, and we were just like awkward. That's us.
Our local hospital was probably the worst. Anytime we would walk in there, they'd be like, "We saw y'all's videos," and we're kind of just like,
"No, you didn't. That wasn't us. That was another crew."
So that kind of leads into the next question. Like that little bit of that stardom was an unexpected thing. What's a life? What's a day in the life for the two of you guys? What's that look like?
I would say, we come to work and it's pretty much just like any other air medical that you would think of. We do all of our checks, we do all of those things. And then that's when we would get down to the nitty gritty of what are we going to film today? And we would just try to film as much as we possibly could before we got a flight. And it was always racing the clock.
Yeah.
You're always up against the phone. As soon as the phone dings, you got to go. So we would try to make the best of it. And then, after we dropped a patient off somewhere, we would try to shoot some videos there. But, for the most part, it was trying to shoot some videos in our downtime and whatever else, just regular air medical things. But on our days off, it was, replying. Sometimes we would go up there on our days off to try to shoot videos if we were busy on our work days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can agree. Either we're filming videos or editing or sleeping or on a flight. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I remember some of our biggest videos were just like quick, dumb ideas. Like it was like, I remember us being like, one of us would say, this might be a dumb idea, so don't make fun of me, but let's try this. And it would just be the quickest 8-second video, quick edit, just adding text. I remember there was one in Hope, Arkansas, the one with Kim, and he was like, and I'm the pilot, and I get him there. That took no time to edit. Like the patient,
was good.
Like, we could see the ambulance as I was hitting submit to post it, because they were like coming up, and it literally just took no time to edit, put up, and that was like one of our biggest videos. I mean, it's just
that one, and then
it take forever. The coffee one, yeah.
Where she's like, I want something protein
high protein, sugar-free protein latte, and too really down for maintenance. Perfect. Just, I don't know. We would spend so much time on some videos, and we were just, which one of them was the intubating, where like she was holding me upside down. That one we spent a whole lot of time editing and doing, and that one did really good. But there was some that like just took no time and were really big, and we're like, we should just stop trying, because when we stop trying, we do good. Like.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I was going to say. Like, I think that speaks to the level of authenticity and just genuineness that people want when they're scrolling through social media.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, I've seen the same thing certainly in my social media, like the things that I'll rehearse a script for, days, and I'll finally put it out there, and I'm like, and edit it, make sure it's perfect, and the outtakes and the retakes and all those things, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a great one, and like 3 people see it, and then it
flops.
Yeah. And then you, like you said, you just like, hey man, let's just throw this out there real quick. It's an 8-second video, and you literally put 0 time into it, outside of 8 seconds, and then post it, and that's the one that goes viral. So I think that speaks to the level of authenticity that both of you bring to social media and to the field, and that's what people want, right? Like I think that's what people want.
Absolutely. I think the one like on our Facebook, page that did the most was like us being sad that our spare was in. We didn't have our original aircraft. If you work air medical, like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like it is terrible. So we walked
it's the same in the fire service.
Like, my face in that video was my legit face whenever I came in for work that morning. Like I walked in and seen the spare was there, and I was like, are you kidding me?
And I was one of those like, hear me out. Let's do this video. The spare's here. And it was just like a quick video, and then it got, I don't even know, 1 million, 2 million views or something.
Up to 1.5 last time I looked or something.
Yeah, well, it's amazing that, and I can speak to this because we had one guy on the podcast. We post, and I don't know if you guys follow some of the stuff that we post, but we tend to post really heavy content. Like it's a mental health podcast, right? So a lot of the things we talk about are going to be heavy. And we posted one that was a clip from one of the shows. And of course, we posted 5 or 6, 7 around that one. And this one was just this guy talking about how he went from zero to hero. Literally, like he went from EMT, never worked on an ambulance, went straight into paramedic school. He was just one of those stories and went right into being a paramedic.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys know anything about that transition, like that's craziness. Nobody really does that. You have a handful of those stories, but typically as an EMT, you're working on an ambulance. And that video was just him being silly. That was all it was. It was telling a funny story. And within a few days, all of our heavy content was getting 5, 6, 7,000 views. And then all of a sudden, this one's got 80,000 views on all the platforms. I'm like, of all the things that you guys are watching, it's this silly one. And I was like, okay, all right, fair. I'll take it. Why not?
Yeah. Well, that's what people want is the silly. And then if anything to like grab attention, like we took over our now company's PR page. We're helping with the PR page and, we're filming and I'm like, we need to do something that grabs someone's attention. And the other day I put a hairbrush just in my flight suit, just stick it out. I was like, someone's going to say something about it and be like, why do you need a hairbrush in your flight suit? But I mean, anything to grab someone's attention to make a comment. So then, because that's what the comment sections are my favorite. I don't know about y'all. I watch a video and I'm running to the comments and I'm like, yep, that's what I want to see. And that's
the comments are the social part of social media.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's where it's at.
And we posted one last week that really got, what I love is if somebody disagrees with what we're saying, right? Because that one person disagrees and it may be a topic that is everybody else is going to have kind of the same general opinion about. And then everybody gets to arguing in the comments. And I'm like, oh, this is great. This is driving the video way up. So I love that. And even the episodes that we've done that have controversial topics in it tend to do better than the episodes that are just, pretty normal for us. Anything controversial seems to bring a lot of traffic for whatever reason. I guess people like to argue.
Yeah.
Well, that's what our video our most viral was like, everyone thought we were pilots and just had a problem with female pilots. And then a lot of comments were about our weight and like, they really can get on the airplane. Like, it was just ridiculous. And we laughed it off, but I'm sitting there reading these disses. I'm like, you're commenting on our page. You're making our page go bigger. Like, thank you for the views and the comment.
Right.
Yeah. And to that point, like the comments that, are disparaging or discouraging, yes, they're driving additional engagement. But I think that just speaks to where we are as a culture and a society right now where people are comfortable with that anonymity. Like I guarantee that people that would say something like that on a keyboard, behind the anonymity of a keyboard would never say that stuff to your face.
Absolutely not. They're hiding behind the screen.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. So that helps keep it in perspective of, all right, well, this generally speaking, if it's not somebody that I'm going to listen to in my regular life that I put value in their opinion.
The thing for me was that the comments just kept implying that we couldn't do our job. And I'm like, so if we get called to a scene of an accident where you're there, you don't want us to transport you because we're women. I doubt it.
Yeah.
Now, typically in my practice, and I've said this numerous times, there is a level of empathy and compassion that women have. And many times in the medical field, I've found that female paramedics actually tend to do it a little better than the men do, because of that nurture type of nature, and kind of mentality that you guys carry. It just works so well in the medical field when you have somebody who, because everybody, regardless, when you're hurt, when you're sick, you kind of go back to that mama mentality that you kind of want to be pampered a little bit. I mean, you want to be kind of taken care of and catered to a little bit. Certainly for me, going through a health crisis recently, you do. And I tend to have the man cold anyway. So I'm not really a great subject to study because I'm the one laying on the couch. There was a NyQuil commercial a few years ago and he's laying on the couch and he's like, oh. and he calls his wife and he's like, "Can you hand me the remote?" And I related to that. I'm like, I'm that guy. Absolutely. Cause a sinus infection can take me out. So I do think women tend to do it a little better. So I think this is a great segue for you guys to get into the next part of what you talked about, because it really relates to the conversation we just had. Really, your content tends to be almost a decompression chamber for a lot of people. And I find that to be true with myself watching your videos. Many times social media, and especially doing a mental health podcast and following a lot of the people that we follow being a mental health podcast, as I'm looking through our social media, there's a lot of heavy things that gets talked about. I mean, we constantly follow people who are all about mental health and all about suicide prevention. So there's a lot of heavy things. Well, when I come across you guys' page, it's really a relief to have a laugh. Do you guys feel like it was a kind of a decompression for you guys too? Because you're doing critical care. Every call is heavy. Every call has the potential for death or decompensation to a great level. So, I mean, do you guys feel like it was a real mental break for you guys?
For sure. There was, lots of bad calls. It can't, it's not good for anybody. Getting lots of bad calls. I know Grace has had her fair share. I've had my fair share. And just, filming something, seeing positive comments, seeing likes, seeing views, of course, social media, it makes you feel good when people like your stuff. But the positive comments, the laughter, the people saying that they love your videos and they followed based on a comment you made or something, it just makes you feel good. As we were filming, it's just the same thing. All I was thinking was the people and what they would laugh at the most, what they would engage with the most.
And I think just coming up with funny stuff to do, it kind of takes your mind off of all the other things, we're at work, or, in downtime shooting these funny videos and we're laughing. So yeah, we may have had a bad call, the day before, or even may have one later that night. But at some point in our shift, we're laughing. We're having a good time. And so it kind of breaks up the heaviness of what we do. And I think that's what a lot of it was for me, is that it's not always it doesn't always have to be heavy. We can laugh and we can joke, and there's going to be heavy times, of course, and that's unavoidable. But having a way to let yourself out of that and laugh and joke and, be able to talk about it with other people to an extent, people, like she said, would come up to us about our videos, and it sparks an enjoyable conversation instead of a negative conversation. When you always get the dreaded question, what's the worst thing you've ever seen? You don't get as many of those as much as you do get oh, I saw your video, that was so funny. And then we can talk about something lighthearted.
I really have always hated that question. Why would you want to make me relive what was one of my worst days, as well as a family's worst day many times? And it just chaps me. And we have talked about that numerous times on this episode, but I'm really curious to know, in your friendship, in your work relationship, when was the aha moment? Was it a shift? Was it a bad call? Was it something that happened particularly to you guys that you said, hey, we really think we're pretty funny and can provide some type of outlet for people? Was there ever an aha moment where you guys said, we got to tape some videos?
I feel like we had done some short little, this is dumb kind of clips, on our phones back and forth, on the way back from flights or whatever. And then one day we were just we should start a TikTok. We do TikTok on our personal.
Well, the fish video was our first one, right? The holding equipment like fish. And
yes,
but that was the day that I posted. So I breastfed. I have 2 kids. That was part of our friendship, that she's got 3 kids. 2 of them are similar. I just my 2 kids. And I was breastfeeding and I was pumping while flying. And that was a lot of my personal videos. And I made that's how I started learning to edit. And our PR team that now we kind of run, requested us take a picture, get a picture with my pump in my flight suit with the aircraft to post for breastfeeding month. So it was August of last year, I guess. And so we were taking those pictures and we were like, hey, let's film a quick video and this will be quick. And we did the fish one, holding equipment like it's fish. And I mean, it did so well, and it was
Yeah.
right
Holding-
away. We were
holding
just like, we need to make more videos. Let's write down our ideas.
Yeah. So that was kind of like our big first, like we had done some little stuff, like she had shot some of her little breastfeeding videos. We had done some little stuff back and forth, just like little videos that we probably still both have on our phones of us just doing silly stuff, you know, at the base or on our way back or whatever. And it just kind of was like, we're not using these videos to our full potential, you
Yeah.
know?
Let's
And I
post
mean,
them. Let's
it's
get people to see them.
it's so funny that you mentioned breastfeeding. My wife breastfed for, I don't know. Well, she pumped. She didn't breastfeed. She exclusively fed the breast milk. He never would latch. And this is now my wife is she's a NICU nurse. So that was her. She's got a real passion for this. And I oftentimes joked that I was going to put my Venmo QR code on the side of the car because we travel a lot to different places. So we live in a small community outside of Memphis and typically travel to Memphis for lots of business and things like that. And I kept messing with her and telling her I was going to put the Venmo QR code on the side of my car because more people had seen her breasts than I had going down the road. So if they're going to see them, they got to pay for it. Like,
Absolutely.
but the breastfeeding thing, like, it really is a huge issue because, I mean, you have to do it pretty much on kind of a schedule. And it's probably one of the toughest things I've watched my wife do and have so much respect for ladies that breastfeed. But it's so interesting that you bring that up, that because when you're on a schedule, you know, you just kind of have to do it when you can do it. And a lot of times that is, I mean, we have coworkers now that, you know, have to pump in the back of the ambulances on the way to calls and things like that. So it's really interesting that you bring that up. I thought that was a really valid point. But one of the other things, where'd you guys pick this Rogue Med Crew name from? Because Rogue kind of implies this almost rebellion. So where did this come from? So are you guys rebels by nature or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but I can't even remember how we came upon it because we were designing
We were kind of just like
made the TikTok and we discussed, and I think we used AI to find some, and we're like, we didn't like any of them. I can't even remember how we got to it. I know
one said it was Med Crew. We knew we wanted like Med Crew in there, like we're the Med Crew, you know, blah blah blah. And we were just like, you know, we can't put anything that has to do with like our company because we don't want to cross those lines. And so we were just sitting there and we were like, let's go Rogue. And well, that's just kind of
there it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love the name. I always have. So you guys, friendship and partnership, just listening to you guys talk and listening to you guys kind of, and I'm not fussing at you guys, but you guys kind of talk over each other a little bit. And that really is a friendship facet that you see in many, many friendships, you know, commonplace that Jason and I will accidentally talk over one another when we're game planning and doing things. And Grace, you saw it in kind of the pre-show when we were just waiting for Mandy to jump on, and Jason and I were just kind of talking to you. And many times that's a friendship characteristic. So how do you balance being friends, business partners, work partners, and having a work relationship? How do you balance all these different facets of your relationship?
Thoughts and prayers. I mean, it's mainly.
I would say, like, you know, when we're at work, but we're not on a call, we were friends. You know, we're just in that friendship side of things. When we're on a call, everything's like strictly business. You know, it's strictly, we're both flight nurses. We're here to do a job. Things get very like professional and, you know, to the point. And then as far as the content side of things, it was kind of just like a divide and conquer. Both of us would be coming up with ideas. We would do some editing, posting, you know, replying to comments. We would kind of just try to divide it as much as we could.
Yeah. I mean, and with kids and stuff, I mean, some weeks would be heavier for her, some weeks would be heavier with me. I mean, it would just depend. We'd pick up slack. But thoughts and prayers, I've recommended that.
I think that knowing that we had to give to get, you know, like we were flexible on each other with all of it, you know. we both needed a little slack here and there as far as like our friendship and our content creation side of things. And just knowing that in the end, we'd all circle back and meet in the middle.
Very nice.
I love that.
Very nice.
And I think it definitely shows, Kevin kind of equated it as you guys talking over each other, which is, like he said before, like we do that. And I think that's just a mark of a good dynamic friendship. I don't necessarily see it as talking over. It's more like a bouncing off each other. Like you're just feeding off each other, and the dynamic that you guys have, it shows here and it shows in what you do. With your social media. And I think that's what people are drawn to. Like I said before, they're drawn to that authenticity and that genuine connection that the two of you have. And I want to use that as an opportunity to kind of pivot and get just a little bit serious here for a minute, because we are a mental health podcast, right? So let's talk for a minute about that mental health component about what you do. We've all experienced on some level in our career and in our field that oh crap moment and that pucker factor. Talk to us about when you're in the thick of it, how do you deal with that moment? And how have you found success in, for lack of better terms, in getting out of your own head when you have something kind of go sideways?
Back to basics, I think, is my main thing. I mean, ABCs. But you just got to think about, everything that you came from, and that's my main thing is your foundation. What you're like, for the trauma nursing process or whatever, like your ABCs. And Grace knows this. I like to talk out loud, and I'll even apologize in a call. I'll be like, I'm sorry, I'm just talking out loud. Like, they're tachycardic, they're hypertensive. We know this about them. We know this about them. We've gotten this lab. We might not know this about them, but could we try this? And I'll just talk out loud until someone as in my partner, will either agree with me or not agree with me, or, hey, this, I talk it out loud. And usually I'll go back down to ABCs. Okay, they've got an airway. They're on the ventilator. We don't have to worry about the A or B part. Circulation. Are they okay? But talking it out loud is my main thing. Everybody knows I'm a yapper who knows me, so. But that's just what I do.
Like, for me, it's just knowing that I'm going to treat this patient with the best possible care that I can. And I'm going to hope and pray that the outcomes are what I would hope that they are. And we've trained and trained and trained for this. So we're going to give them the best possible shot that we can. And, like she said, I'm a big one on speaking out loud. That's why we have partners. That's why we're dual critical care providers. Speak out loud. Hey, I think this. Hey, I think that. Hey, this is what I'm seeing. Hey, what are you seeing? And I think that helps us a lot not hone in on the call, if that makes sense. You're not so hyper fixated on one thing that you lose sight of everything else that's going on around you. Because if you're just in your head there and you're constantly just replaying, man, this patient's tachycardic, they're hypotensive, and you're not saying anything, you're just constantly this loop is just going over and over in your head, and you're just getting deeper and down in there, especially if, say, the patient does have a bad outcome and you never verbally spoke anything, then it's like you get deeper off in your head. Well, what if I said something? Well, what if this? And so for me, it's just like, I've said what I needed to say. I've made sure that I was communicating well with my partner. I try my best to look at every call, not the same because every call is so very different, but with the same mentality as I'm going to give this patient the best possible care that I can to get them where they need to go. And I'm going to fall back on all the training that we've trained for. But, in the end, there are some calls that are always going to weigh heavier on us than others. And I think a big thing is just recognizing that and seeking help for it when needed. I'm a very big advocate for that.
That's good. I love it. You both kind of talked about the same thing, different phraseology. Mandy talked about back to basics, the ABCs, and Grace, you talked about the just falling back to your training. When you're in that moment, how do you balance teaching? So Kevin called me, what was the word you called me in the pre-show?
Mature.
Mature. That I bring the mature with all the gray. I would say you two are definitely seasoned in what you do. You've been around long enough that people look to you for leadership, for guidance, on how are they doing it right, and how can I replicate that in my own life. So, speaking to our listeners and our viewers, how do you teach someone to trust their gut and to rely on their instinct in the moment, in balance with the ABCs and the algorithm and the things that we're taught?
I would say a big thing for me is, like, I know they've taught it, like I've heard it so many times from people I've worked with, treat your patient, not the monitor. And I think that's the same thing for, don't get so stuck on a checklist or a flow that you can't deviate from it. If you're like, no, I really know that I need to do this, then do it. Don't be like, well, I have to do this first. If I don't check this box, I can't check this box, because, that's where it's going to get you. Yes, I know it's XABC, but I can see right now without going down the checklist, this is my patient needs this right now. Then do it. Your gut is telling you this is really what I need to do. And, especially if you've been doing this for a little bit, like your gut is going to tell you something, and for the new people that are, starting out, your gut has been well seasoned before you started this. It may be new to medical, to EMS, or to healthcare, but it's always been with you. So it's one of those things we can always fall back on. Yes, I'm not saying don't go by your checklist and don't do those things, but for sure have it weighing in your mind that don't just treat the patient, or don't just treat the monitor, treat the patient.
So one of mine, and I actually made a newbie cheat sheet for a couple of our noobs that we helped oriented in this past month or two. And I like to say it, maybe y'all might not like it, but fake it till you make it. And I mean, especially in this question, I'm sure is for more than just flight people, but flight people, especially, you have to have a certain number of years experience to be where we're at. And you have to have a certain certifications and time, and you have to have education to get the job, to even just get the job. But even ground people, fake it till you make it. I'm reading it off right now because I typed it out for them, but fake it till you make it and ask questions later. The number of times where I'm getting report or something, and like they say some big word and I see you that I don't know of the history, and I'm like Googling it as I'm walking out the door, because I'm like, the family needs to know that I know what I'm talking about. The patient needs to know. The people that I'm taking the report need to know. And so think out loud and ask early. I put on here, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And that's especially in air medical. It's like before we go up in the air, we do a full walk around, slow is smooth, smooth, fast. And then if you're unsure, verbalize it, because I'm big on that. I will sound like the biggest dummy in the world, Grace knows, and I will ask the dumbest question on the entire planet. But if I don't know for sure that this is going to happen, that this is happening, this is not happening, we did this or we didn't do this, I'm going to ask it. I ask 1,000 million questions. Everyone around me knows that. And so I tell all the noobs, ask questions. If you don't know it, ask a question. If it's an ABC, what is it, alphabet soup something, and you don't know what it is, ask questions or Google it. I mean, if you don't know, figure it out ASAP, because 10 years from now, you're still not going to know what it is if you don't know now. Like, I don't know, just ask questions. And that's my biggest thing, is ask questions. If you don't know it, figure it out now, and don't act like you do know it, unless you're.
That's a good lead into the next question. What do you feel are the maybe the biggest mistake that newer clinicians in the field, what are some of the bigger mistakes that they make when they try to overanalyze?
Yeah, exactly that. Their head gets too big. And at the end of the day, the more I've learned in medicine and flight medicine and health and just in general in life, the more I learn about it, the more I realize that I don't know about it. And it scares the crap out of me. So I'm sitting here, I'm learning more, and I'm like, I still don't know enough. And I see people who walk in confident, like they don't need to go to classes, they don't need to take their certs, they just pencil whip it, and it's like, there's so much to learn every single class, like every single BLS, ACLS, PALS class, I learned something new because I don't know everything. And I think knowing when you walk in the room, you want to fake it till you make it, but at the end of the day, you don't know everything. And as a clinician, healthcare worker, I know this is mental health and we want to make people feel good, but at the end of the day, you don't know everything. And if you can confirm that in your heart that you don't know everything, and at the end of the day, not anybody knows everything, like we're all just trying to make it and take care of people. We're all on the same team, nurses, EMS, everybody. We're all on the same team, and nobody knows just everything about everything.
With what you said about like overanalyzing, I think a lot of times they see something like you talk about distracting injuries. Patient has a broken arm, and they get honed in on that, and they just cannot think about anything else could be wrong with this patient. Nothing. And then you realize, well, the patient also has a pelvic fracture or internal bleeding or something along those lines. We just sometimes they or they look for stuff that's not there. Something has to be wrong with this patient. They call 911. And so I think the biggest thing is just do your assessment, treat the patient, treat what you see. There's some things you can't treat. The biggest thing you can do is get them to a hospital. But knowing when to ask for help.
I love it. I've always believed that the best leaders surround themselves with people that fill in their gaps, like recognizing where our lack of information or a lack of knowledge or our weaknesses are, and surrounding ourselves with people that complement those.
Absolutely.
A lot of times leadership, administration, we see people take that as a threat, and it's really not a threat. It's really just it's to me, it's good leadership. And you said something there towards the end that kind of leads into the next question. Does when it comes to remaining calm and those distracting injuries is kind of what gets me thinking about this. Does the autonomy of the flight environment, does it help or hurt that process of staying calm? Do you feel like it gives you more room to breathe, or does it add more pressure?
I feel like it depends on the person. I feel like it could go both ways. I feel like for me, it gives me room to breathe because I don't feel like I have someone over my shoulder. We've been given these guidelines and these policies and protocols to follow. And, as long as you're doing what's in the best interest of the patient and you can justify what you're doing, for the most part, you're good. You followed within the policy, within the protocol. I feel like then again, you have to understand disease process. You have to understand what you're doing and not just like willy-nilly throwing stuff at a patient and hoping it works.
And see, on my side, I always felt like, so it changed throughout my career, right? So I always knew that I had the protocols and the book, if you will, because at my very first ambulance service that I was a paramedic at, we had an actual, and this tells a little bit of my maturity since that's a safe word. 15 years ago when I started, it was very, is very much still print. There weren't those digital resources that, we have now. And I knew I always had the book, but even though, our service, especially in rural Mississippi, was pretty advanced for the time. And we were doing some stuff that not everybody in the state was doing. And I really felt a nervousness about those procedures and those things that we were allowed to do. And I was always, well, what if, I was always that what if guy. And not necessarily to the sense the sky's falling, but absolutely to the sense of, oh gosh, I might actually have to do a crike on somebody. And, every patient that was a really bad trauma was something that could have affected the airway or something that could have affected that. That was always kind of in the back of my mind. And it almost made me nervous. And especially when I went into pediatric critical care medicine and going from, and I use this analogy a lot. So at my ambulance service, I kind of, after all that experience, after 10 plus years, you kind of become the shark in the goldfish tank. And everybody comes to you for, look at this EKG. Did I do this right? Kind of the guy that people want to come and ask questions to after a call. And going to pediatric critical care medicine, I was almost breathtaking to become the goldfish in the shark tank. Because these providers had been doing this for a very long time, like I had there. But now I'm the new guy. Now I have to almost prove myself. And it was a wealth of different protocols that I had never seen. I had never performed a lot of this. So I felt very nervous, and I felt like it was almost that angst that just kind of stayed with you. But as my career progressed and I got more comfortable with things, and more comfortable with especially the pediatric population, it really became kind of like what you're saying, that it gives you kind of the room to breathe, and it gives you kind of the room to know what to do next, or the room to know what if X, Y, and Z happens? This is my next step. So I really felt comforted by the things that we could do. But what about after the call? So many times we have these calls that are heavy and they're traumatic to us. We're experiencing this secondary trauma, and then on top of that, we all experience this cumulative trauma where we've done this for X number of years, and things just kind of stack naturally, right? So you have 4 patients back to back that are really super critical. And those things stack up. And a lot of times I've found that seeing the family is some of the worst parts of what we do, and having to deal with the unknown that the family is experiencing, the trauma that the family is experiencing. So, like, what do you do? I mean, what do you do with that? What do you guys particularly do with that weight of that mental load that comes with seeing these critical patients, seeing the family, seeing this worst day as we commonly describe it?
So for me, and I've actually had multiple people reach out to me because there's been lots of stuff in Texarkana, heavy calls in Texarkana, and people have reached out, hey, how do you deal with heavy calls? And I had 2 or 3. I mean, it comes in waves. I mean, y'all know you'll have 2 or 3 really, really bad ones, and you'll have 2 or 3 really, really just run of the mill average. But for me, it's just, you learn something from every call. And I believe in the Lord. I'm a Christian, so that's a big thing. And I realize that there's a plan. It's what I believe in. And I think these people come across my list of patients because I'm going to learn something from them, whether the outcome is good or bad. And I realize I made a mistake. Even if the outcome's good and I made a mistake, I've learned something from this patient that I'm going to apply to another patient. If the outcome's bad, if they don't make it for whatever reason, then I've learned something that I can apply to the patient that the Lord is putting in my place to help or do something with in the future. That's how I take it. Is I learned something for the patient that really, really needs it. That's going to make it. That's why.
Love that.
I think, kind of what she said, to bounce off of that, we do learn something from every call, whether it's something small or something huge, we do learn something from every call. But having someone to talk to, having a debrief, whether it's your partner that was on the call with you or someone who is, gonna review your chart. Hey, can I talk with you about this call? I've done that before. Like, hey, my full-time partner, I was like, hey, I need to talk with you about this because I need to know if there's anything I could have done differently, or just talk. And we've all been in those situations. And so 99% of the people, I know everybody that we work with would be willing to sit and talk with you if you had a bad call. Or, if you have a therapist, go and talk, talk to somebody. Don't just try to keep it all in and bottle it all up until it becomes explosive.
Yeah, and I'll say I've been there. I
go
go
ahead.
to I'm just saying, like, I'll be the first one to say
Same.
it. I'm in therapy, and I go as much as I can with my busy schedule because I know it's needed, required.
Obviously, we are huge proponents. We are huge proponents of therapy, and I think everybody that hosts this show and many that come on this show are huge proponents of therapy. But you guys both bring up really interesting points. I think that to Mandy's point, what you see in studies across the board, and I'm pursuing my counselor's degree now, and what you see across the board when you look at major studies is that when a person has a belief in something, all right, I'm Christian too. You mentioned being a Christian. I'm not sure about the religious nature of Jason and Grace, but when you believe in something, the way that we handle traumatic events greatly improves. And I think that having that Christian background and being I don't necessarily love the word Christian. I always feel like it puts a negative stigma on the individual that's living that way. I have always described myself as a Jesus follower that fails every day. And I'm striving to be more like him. But I think it really does play a major role when you have a belief in something. You have a belief in a higher power. You have a belief that somebody is controlling this mess of a world that we kind of live in, and that somebody does have a plan and that has your best interest at heart. And you see that throughout the studies. And then, Grace, you bring up an excellent point about debriefing, and I think that many times, especially in the EMS community and the fire community, and oh gosh, the police officers we've had on, that they need to do debriefs so much more often than we do. Many times we in the first responder community fail at this debrief thing and fail at the critical incident stress debriefings, right? And I think that having somebody in your corner that you trust is very important. So I think that, what does that ritual look like for each of you guys? That shaking off that bad shift or that bad call. What is that ritual for you guys? Is there a ritual, or is it just each call that you have or each bad shift is something to its own?
I mean, I think it's different. Pediatric patients always hit harder. I mean, I have 2 kids. Pediatric patients always hit harder no matter what, but I think it depends. Some days I'll shut down, just not talk about it, just wait a couple weeks and bundle it down, and it's not the best thing ever. Some days I'll call somebody on the way home, whether it's a friend, family, mom. I have a twin sister. She's my best friend. And then some days I'll just scream music in the car, just either whether it's Jesus music or wherever on the way home. But I guess it just depends on the day, how I'm feeling. But bundling it is not the best option for sure. You got to get it out, whether it's screaming, singing, or talking to somebody, or I don't know. Don't bundle it.
I have a couple, like, I wouldn't say designated people, but I have a couple people that, like, I have on, like, speed dial. Like, when I have a mad call, like, I'll call them. Like, I have one, I worked with her when I was travel nursing, and we became really, really close. And I had a bad call end of the year, and I mean, it was 2:00 in the morning, and I called her, and I was like, "Hey, are you at work? Are you asleep?" She's like, "I'm asleep." I said, "It's okay. I'll call you later." And she could tell I was obviously upset. And she was like, and so, I mean, we just sat and talked and talked. And, you know, it got to the point where we weren't even talking about anything that had to do with why I was calling.
Mm-hmm.
We were just talking. And so it got to the point where, you know, I wasn't thinking about everything I had just been through or that family had just been through. So
I think that's very important too. Like, many times we can have those friends that we can call and you just get into a normal, natural conversation, and it alleviates some of that stress and some of that replay, right? Because when we get into that when we start thinking about a critical call and we start thinking about maybe an outcome that didn't turn out our way, the way our brains are wired, and this is so interesting to me, the way our brains are wired, the amygdala kind of holds that information and kind of stores it in that fight or flight center of our brain. And if we don't figure out how to move that around and turn that off and make that a little more of a, okay, I'm not in danger anymore, I am safe, this is not currently happening, it becomes so much easier. And I think having those conversations with trusted friends that can kind of get your mind off of it for a second and let your brain adjust and go, okay, I'm not there anymore. Like, I'm not in that fight or flight situation. I can chill out a little bit. Do you guys think that overall, and I never got this at the first of the show, this is my fault. So you guys are both nurses, or are you dual licensed? Like, what's your kind of background? Because this is going to go into the next question, how you speak to this.
we're both nurses, but we are both pursuing our paramedic.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah. So we
It's a form of torture that's it's new to us.
It's
yeah,
chosen
with
torture for
kids and
sure.
everything. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I graduated high school. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I want to hear that.
I graduated high school a semester early. And I went straight. I took a bunch of prereqs in a row, and I went straight from high school. I started nursing school 2 weeks later. I got into nursing school, graduated nursing school when I was 18. I could give hardcore narcotics and paralytics before I could drink. Did ER for 2.5 years, got the flight job, and I've been doing flight for almost 3 years now. And I got my CFRN, and then we're doing medic school. And then hopefully I'll get FPC as soon as I possibly can. That's background.
You absolutely will. You absolutely will. If you did all that, you're already a shoe-in. So that's awesome that you guys kind of have experience now in both of those roles. And really, you guys are, even nurses doing flight are part of that EMS community, obviously. But you guys really have an overreaching view, having so many different experiences. Do you feel like the industry, both healthcare and nursing, as well as the first responder EMS side, do you feel like we're getting better at handling this mental health thing?
I feel like it's more talked about. I feel like it's not so like hush hush, like you can't talk about it. Like if you're having a bad day or you've been through a bad call, I do feel like it's on the up more than it was like when I started. But I think we still got a long ways to go.
Long ways to go is my summary.
Yeah, I think that, and I don't know if you guys follow EMS Avenger. He's one of the huge EMS educators, kind of in the social media scene, and he talks a lot about the system as a whole, and of course, education topics throughout. But we had him on one of our very first episodes, and if you go back and watch it now, don't expect, I should say, the quality that you get at, I think this is episode 58 or 59. Don't expect the quality of episode 58, 59 on episode 1 and 2. But if you go back and listen to his episode, he describes it really well. He describes the system as a whole really well. And I think everybody can relate to this. I don't know if you guys have ever seen or watched I Love Lucy, but that old show, and they're in the chocolate factory, and all these chocolates are being produced, and Lucy has kind of eaten a few of them, and the system has become pretty backed up, and there's no way that they're going to recover, and the system fails, and they have kind of a comic moment where they're, essentially hundreds and hundreds of these chocolate pieces are just flowing everywhere. And he said that's exactly where the system's at. And I think I would agree with that, with this mental health thing, that we have gotten so far, kind of down the road of being not necessarily broken, but not talking about it enough. We have so many responders that are in need of help, and we don't have that number of counselors that are trained to handle what we deal with, because many times what we've heard from people is that when I go into counseling, I'm overwhelming my counselor with the stories that I'm able to tell and the things that I'm dealing with. So many times we don't have counselors. I mean, even in the Memphis area, Memphis is a pretty, I'm not going to say major metropolitan area, but one of the larger cities in America, obviously. And we have three first responder trained therapists, just 3. And we have, I think the last number was over 10,000 responders in Memphis. So you think about that. And even if the statistics are right and 45% of responders have experienced some kind of mental health crisis, even at that 45, 50%, what are you talking about? Somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 people that need counseling. And you've got 3 first responder trained counselors. So there's a great need for that. And I think we're on a system that eventually has to break before it can repair itself. But you guys bring up absolutely valid points. And I think you guys have said a lot of really gold nuggets throughout the conversation. So I appreciate you both for being so honest.
Well, I think on that,
I echo that. I think, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and from my own experience and things, if there's 3 counselors to 4,000 people, just in general. I know most people on here watching here is probably healthcare, but if you're not healthcare, or if you know somebody in healthcare, then check in on your people. And when you ask, how was your day? Don't just good, whatever, like ask them, how are you? How are you doing? Do you want to talk about anything? I'm here for you. If whether or not you are in healthcare or not, just someone that genuinely will listen to how was your day? How was your week? How have you been mentally this month? It's been a busy month. I know. Like, I just, in general,
I
just
had that
check on your
exact
people.
conversation. I had that exact conversation yesterday. I had a guy reach out to me, and of course, we do lots of like outreach is not the right word, but almost like, and you guys probably are familiar with this, but marketing, where you send your stuff to your friends, obviously, you send your stuff to your Facebook friends, and you kind of put it out there for everybody to see. And I had a guy reach out to me and say, "Hey man, what's going on? Really like your stuff, all that kind of stuff." And I asked him, "How are you?" And he said, "Oh, I'm making it." I said, "No, really, how are you? Like, are you okay? Like, genuinely okay?" And I think you bring up a great point. It's important to really put emphasis on, are you really okay? Or is this just a passing answer?
I think we've gotten so accustomed to just saying I'm good, or yep, I'm okay,
Mhm.
or
I'm here.
anything wrong.
That's my
Nope.
favorite one. I'm here. I'm making it. Just another day. Another day, another dollar. Just
Instead of actually digging into, what's going on. I do agree with that. And I think that a big thing is that, a lot of people aren't comfortable going and sitting down and talking to someone they don't know. So having that person, like, we talked about, that person you can call them. Don't wait till it gets that bad. And if you know you're that person for somebody, reach out to them.
Yeah, I think it's a
Excellent
two-way
advice.
street too. I think it's great advice to say, as the person reaching out, saying, "Hey, how you doing?" No, how you really doing? And digging that is a little bit deeper is half of that connection. The other half of that connection, it's incumbent upon us on the receiving end of that to know that, okay, yeah, you know what, I am struggling, and to be comfortable saying, no, I'm not okay. And obviously that's probably conditional on who the person is.
Absolutely.
Somebody,
Yeah.
there are certain people in my job that if they asked me that, and even if they went a little bit deeper, I probably still would
Mm-hmm.
withhold some of what's going on, because I don't necessarily have that level of trust or compatibility or friendship with them. But the ones that genuinely love you, even if they don't prompt you to go deeper, it's incumbent upon us to know, like, we know we got a problem. I know I'm struggling. And so even if they don't prompt me to go a little bit deeper, it's incumbent upon us to, like you just said, Grace, to be comfortable enough to say, "Hey, yeah, no, I'm not okay, or I had
Well,
a hard day,
and I
or
think
I'm struggling."
the thing is it's okay to not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I say that a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of the time, it's like if someone isn't in healthcare, it's tough to, because my talking it out is like, what could I have done better? What did I do good? Talking it out, and I don't know the solution for it. I mean, 3 therapists. I know a lot more nurses and medics than I do therapists, but and I've talked to medics and nurses alike that have kind of helped calm me down mentally after a bad call. Just, I mean, I have a buddy in Lafayette. I'll talk to him, talk it out with a call. He's a flight medic, and it helps talking that out with someone who knows kind of what I'm talking about, instead of having to be like, well, a thoracotomy is this and a crike is this, instead of like, you can just word vomit all these words without them being like, wait, what? What did you just say? And just, I don't know how we could solve it, but if healthcare workers reach out to healthcare workers and say, hey, I know you're not okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good stuff. Talk to us about
And I think that's part of what we're
what's next. What's
trying
next
to do.
for the
Yeah.
Rogue? Oh, there. All right. Okay. Sorry. Talk to us about what's next for the Rogue med crew. What's in the future for you girls?
No, if
We don't
Rogue
know.
will continue on just because of some company stuff. But definitely we'll keep our personals both going and being able to reach us that way. But hopefully one day we could get Rogue started back up. But as of right now, it's kind of at a halt.
Up in the air.
Yeah.
But we still look
I
at
like what you
everybody's
did there.
comments
Nice.
and views, and we love seeing that people still love it. But
Yeah, that's just part of it. That's the cost of doing business some days, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality that we live in. So, what's one, Mandy? I'll come to you first, and then Grace. What's one parting thought that you have for our listeners and our viewers? If you could give them one piece of advice, one encouraging note, whatever that might be, what's one closing thought you want to impart on?
goodness,
I put you on the spot when I said Mandy,
Yeah.
you're first.
I think
Grace, you can jump in for it. It don't matter.
I think
Just jump in.
no, I mean I think I kind of touched on it earlier. I think knowing that I've ranted to people about this. I'm big on imposter syndrome. I walk into work every day. I'm young. I mean, do y'all know how old I am? Do y'all want to guess how old I am?
I would say 25.
Yeah, so I'll be 25 in 2 weeks. Yeah, in 2 weeks I'll turn 25. And so I'm very young, and so I have to carry myself a certain way, I guess, come off as qualified, because a lot of people are like, are you old enough to do this? I'm like, probably not, but I'm qualified. I got the letter. But like I said earlier, I guess same thing is we don't know anything. We're all just faking it till we make it. Like I feel like a 12-year-old girl sometimes, again, just in high school, middle school, and just like we all just don't know nothing. Some of us just know more about other things than other pilots. Just have a whole lot of pilot time, but at the end of the day, we're all just human. None of us are invincible. None of us know everything. None of us are perfect. And I think just knowing that, and I'm preaching to the choir. Like, I need to know this too. But none of us are perfect. And at the end of the day, none of us know what we're doing 100% of the time. And just the patient is the priority. And I guess just keeping your eyes on the patient and the family is the main thing. And just, you're going to make mistakes. Other people are going to make mistakes. We're not invincible. We're not perfect.
Love it. Love it. Grace, what do you got for us?
I would say kind of, back to what we talked about earlier. Ask questions. Don't be afraid. Even if that means coming up to someone in air medical, we're not going to bite, but also it's okay to not be okay. There's sometimes when everybody's not okay, everybody in their life at one point has not been okay, and that's fine.
Good stuff. Thanks.
Well, guys, I think we have reached the end. This is my least favorite part of the show. So, Grace, Mandy, tell us where we can find your personals or Rogue Med Crew or anything else you guys are working on.
Mandy Marler, any Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Mandy Marler.
Yep. So I have Facebook, Instagram, Grace Bradley, and then my TikTok is Grace Bradley 7.
Yeah, and they'll friend you without knowing who you are. They friended me before I even sent them an invitation. I sent a friend request and probably like, who is this guy?
I've seen some of your stuff.
Yeah, I saw.
Well, for A Silent War Within, you can find us on all the social media platforms. So Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the places. Hey, you guys come and conversate with us. You heard us kind of talk about some comments and things within the show, but really one of the things that we thrive on is hearing from you guys, whether it's good, bad, indifferent. We want to hear what you guys think. What you guys think about us, even if it's bad. Like we said, maybe a bad comment drives some of our engagement. So I don't have a problem with you saying that I'm fat or ugly or my beard looks bad or whatever it is that you want to say that may hurt my feelings, because I have a thick skin after 20 years of doing this. But come on, tell us what you think. That's what we love. We love to interact with people. Angel, our social media person, I guess she's social media manager, scheduling, guest outreach. I mean, she does everything for us. We love Angel. She is great at following up on some of that. We are too. We look at all the things and all the stuff. So we love just getting to talk to you guys, but reach out to us. We love the people that also reach out to us for resources and help. And we're all some type of peer trained, coach trained, whatever it is. We have some background there to get you with the people that can help you or to maybe talk through some things with you. So we love those interactions that we get to have with some of our, I guess you would call them fans or listeners or viewers or whatever you'd like to refer to them as. But you guys can find us on all the social media platforms. Every Friday, you get a new episode from A Silent War Within. And those stream on a bunch of different places. The three major ones that we get a lot of engagement from are YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We've got a few other smaller ones. We're on iHeartRadio and Amazon and a few other things. But really those big three are the ones that we get engagement from. And you guys go check out our newly redesigned website, asilentwarwithin.com. That can get you to all the places and all the things. That's really the hub of all of our resources. We've started a blog there that I put in at least 2 or 3 times a week to kind of tell you some background about us and what we're doing and things like that. Hopefully by the time this episode releases, we'll have some merch out there for you guys to enjoy and hopefully get on board with us in what we're doing and really continue to push this conversation about mental health. I think that it's vital. But Grace, Mandy, you guys have been absolutely awesome. I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you agreeing to come on the show and just have a conversation with us. Really felt like that we've known you guys for a long time, and I love when a conversation happens that way. So thank both of you.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for having us.
Yeah, we've been looking forward to it for a year now.
Yeah, it's been a long time since September at least. Yeah. I found their page a very long time ago and reached out to them, and just like I said, scheduling and things just kept getting in the way. But we love you guys and we love what you're doing. Hopefully you can continue, but if not, make sure you follow them. I'll link their pages if that's okay with you guys in the show notes so that you can find them and find what they're doing. They are awesome individually to follow. I follow both of them and enjoy what they're doing. So thank you guys so much. And this is the end, unfortunately. So as we say every week, be safe, take care of your mind, and we'll talk soon. See you next week, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
You've been listening to A Silent War Within. If this episode resonated, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, you're not alone and your well-being matters. It's time to end this silent war.